forgiveness. What's your take on that one?
Well, I think first off, and this kind of ties into the subject of judgment too, is first we got to kind of start looking at what our belief systems are. So we all know we have our stories and belief systems, and we think certain things, which is where judgment comes in, because judgments usually is because you think it should be another way. Yeah. So it's just you thinking something should be different than it is, right? And so then you have other people thinking that it should be another way, and now there generates this judgment and conflict and all this stuff. But it's really all based on what we think it should be, and that we're right on some level. So given that, it brings it to awareness. So like, how aware are we of our thoughts and beliefs and stories, and how can we start becoming aware and neutralizing it? And once we become aware, we actually start, now here's where forgiveness come in, because then we realize that, can you hear the cat? The cat's like, meow, forgive me. so we realize that once we become aware, we start realizing that there really isn't anything to ever forgive. Okay, so that's crazy, because the world is rough, and we all come from, most of us have rough things that have happened in our lives, and we have things that we get mad at ourselves for, or we get angry and mad at other people, and we think that, oh, I need to forgive them. Now, the reason I say there's nothing to forgive is because I firmly believe that everyone is doing the best they can, giving the awareness and their stories, or their awareness where they're at. Yeah. So given that, if someone's really doing their best, but it's not good enough for you, then how could you really? There's nothing to forgive, because either they think they're doing the best they can, or they might not even think they're doing the best they can, but given their awareness level, based on the results, they're doing exactly just what they can do. Yeah. So, we could take the example of, let's say your husband is an alcoholic and he's mean all the time. And you're like, oh, I gotta, or maybe you've even left him at this point. And it's like, I gotta forgive him. I'm holding so much, I gotta forgive. But really, what it boils down to is not forgiveness. It boils down to compassion for where he is. Because we're so righteous about, like, well, he should know better. You should know better. I should know better. It's perfect when it comes to our own forgiveness all the time,
So the loophole, the forgiveness loophole, really boils down to there is nothing to forgive. Okay.
No, and if you look at the word too, like forgive, it's like giving forth. So it's really about giving forth through love and compassion and your acceptance. And forgiveness is really more about acceptance.
Okay, that was my next question. So here's a great and statement too around acceptance, right? Which is really interesting. My mom, who you know very well, and when you were saying alcoholic, so her father was an alcoholic, and he was her perpetrator. She was a child of incest from ages 8 to 12, right? So she grows up, does her healing work, right? And she's in a obviously wonderful place in her life, and has written this great book on how to heal your life, right? And when you ask Donna about
forgiveness, I love
Donna. She'll say, well, I'm in complete acceptance of what has happened. And she just said to me, she goes, he never asked me for forgiveness. So it wasn't even something to forgive. I'm not sure if I would love to share this perspective with her, like that it couldn't have been any other way. And I know that she knows that, because I remember when the last time it happened, when she was 12, he called her his own name, Donnie, which he was called as a child, right? And what she came to find out through his brothers was that he was molested by his father. Right? So he was repeating the pattern, and it couldn't have been any different. Right? And was it the best he could do? I don't know if we would frame it in that, but it was It was
all he knew.
what it was, right? And through acceptance of what it was, she has been able to move forward in her life and also use that scenario and not to have it happen in vain to create art, a one-woman show, a book, a tour, all sorts of things to heal others through her own experience, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's acceptance is really where the work comes in, and being in acceptance of what has happened and looking, as you say a lot, and what I've been sharing them with this week is all events are neutral. So I'd love for you to touch on that a little bit more, because that teaching came directly from me going through the trainer forum teachings and the gratitude training. So can you touch a little bit more on all events are neutral? Because I think that this is a piece of coming to a place of acceptance, awareness, and
so the the concept of all all events are neutral is because, I mean, we can look at it from this way, like, do you go to the gym or do you do any exercise?
Yes, I was with you yesterday in yoga, if you don't remember.
Right. Okay, so do you have some days, where you go to yoga and you just know you have to go, but you're just like, I don't want to go, I hate yoga, I don't want to stretch, whatever it is, right? And then do you have other days where you go to yoga and you're like, I'm so excited to go to yoga?
Totally.
Okay, so it's how you're framing yoga, but the yoga in and of itself is neutral.
Right.
Because you can frame the mind to a certain thing, however it is. So in some cultures, it's like a celebratory event when someone dies.
Right, I shared that example.
Like the worst thing that ever happened.
Yep.
So death in that particular example death is neutral. It's how we interpret it, how we frame it.
Yes.
Based on our, whether it's upbringing, belief systems, cultures. I mean, it's like everything plays into this framing and on some level judging,
Sure.
how we judge any given situation.
Yeah.
So when you start saying that something is neutral, it's really difficult when it comes to the harder parts, like someone being raped. Like, how can you say that this is neutral, right? And that gets tricky, but the rape is the rape, and it happened in an instant, and whatever happens after it is all what is happening, obviously, as a result of it, but it's all our belief system. So some people might take this and create amazing results in writing books and helping other victims and all this stuff, and like actually be empowered by it. Some people may be in anger and I gotta forgive, or I gotta do something all the time, and it's just like their life is a misery because of it.
Yep.
That's why you almost have to even say that that event is neutral, because you can create any story around anything.
Yes.
Now, saying that it's neutral does not mean that you're saying that it's a good thing. You know what I mean? So that's the neutral is just, it's just neutral.
Yeah.
And people have a hard time with that, And another thing, this is a really good tool to support you in having something start becoming neutral. And so I actually talk about this in my book. A lot of times we collapse an event with how we're feeling about it, okay? Our interpretation about it. So we'll be like, my father beat me, therefore I hate men. Or like, therefore I can't have a relationship, like I can't find the right guy because my father beat me. Okay, so you're holding it as a collapsed thing because, you're becoming sort of the victim here because he did this, I can't, get my shit together on some level, okay? So I have this tool that's called, it's called the because and tool. And really all you do is you replace because with and. And so I'm going to say the same thing now and just hear the difference that it creates. So my father beat me, and I cannot create the relationship of my dreams. Okay. Now you've separated them. And now the responsibility of you not creating the relationship of your dreams is falling on you.
Right.
And it's still true that he beat you. So most people think that the moment you the moment you say
taking out the blame. It's
Yes,
taking out the blame and it's putting in your own responsibility and accountability.
exactly. Because if you're holding it together, collapsed, and let's say you meet the man of your dream and it's actually working out, but you have it collapsed, you meeting that guy suddenly in your unconscious negates that you were ever even abused by your father or beaten, because they don't match.
Right.
So you have to uncollapse them, and you have to go like this was then, this was so, this is now what, and then kind of, otherwise you won't be able to ever even find that relationship without uncollapsing it. And the because and tool is such a simple way of doing that. I mean, it's just like, I was late for class because my teacher is an a-hole.
That
But
sounds like my son.
yeah, but then it's this. I was late for class and my teacher's an a-hole. Now I'm still late for class.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's on me now. Yeah, use that with your son.
Like, I'm literally, that came out of his mouth on Thursday, and he was such a Weisenheimer. He wound up in the dean's office. I was with you when this happened. Remember?
Oh, right.
Because he thought it would be funny to write his name huge on the board, smirk at the teacher, and for the first time in his whole high school career, he wound up in the dean's office. And when he got home, he said, I was late to class because my teacher's an a-hole. I'm like, no.
Oh my God. And and here's the thing, a lot of parents in that situation will be like, like, it does, like, there's no way of coaching him, because if you don't collapse the two, they're still going to hold the teacher responsible.
Right.
Or uncollapsed too. So you have to literally be like, okay, I get it. Your teacher's an a-hole. Got it. Your teacher's and you were late. So let's talk about you being late.
Yes.
Has nothing to do with the teacher.
Right. Like, I'm acknowledging
yeah,
that I am with you on your teacher, and you were late.
Let's hope his teacher's not watching this right now.
I don't think so. He's an a-hole.
Because, yeah, if he was, he wouldn't be that anymore.
Exactly. He would be in transformational training.
Oh my God, I love it.
So,
about judgment.
yeah, back to judgment. The other thing that I think is really interesting is when we start judging others, right? And so I think an interesting tool is to do an exploration of, all of a sudden somebody comes into the movie of your life, right? And maybe they are, picketing against, being for the environment, right? They think that they're like thinking that global warming is total BS and that we're all crazy. And this just like creates this reaction, right, in this person. So we get annoyed by people often. Other people's behaviors cause us to be very reactive often. Yeah. But a really interesting tool is to do some reflection work. Now, the reflection work gets confusing because when you're like, oh, trying to do the just like me thing, you're like, yeah, but I'm not, right. I'm not annoying, and I'm not distrustful, and I'm not, a liar. I'm not those things. And so this is not a reflection of who I am. And then I kind of come back and say, okay, but what is this bringing up in you? This is bringing up a feeling of mistrust. And then you just bring it back in and you go, and where am I not trusting myself? Like, this person is an opportunity to come in as a mirror for you to say, where am I lying to myself? Where am I not trusting myself? And in that instant, usually we can find something.
Yeah, totally.
What do you think? How do you work with that? Like, that's something that I've been practicing lately. I've just been going like right here. I'm not going to give a million examples, but for you, like, if somebody's triggering you, like, how do you, because Joe and I are Olympic gold medalists at dropping the rope, like the power of letting shit go. Like, we don't allow things to really get in our space for very long because we're very interested in creating world peace in our lifetime. Yes. And that kind of like, gets in our way of that. So what are some of your tools when somebody's triggering you?
It's interesting first that you talked about like the mirror. You kind of talked about the mirror versus using what you see in introspection.
Yeah.
sometimes the mirror, you know, I can't remember which author said this, but it was like people come into your life for three reasons. One is like they're a mirror, you know, for you to see you. The second, you know, person might be here to teach you something. And then the third one is they're just an extra in your movie.
Ah, I like that.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's one way of looking at it. Like, okay, what opportunity is this person for me right now? You know, is this an opportunity for me to practice compassion, forgiveness? There you go, forgiveness. You know, whatever it is, you know, what acceptance, all of it. Like, is this an
Patience,
opportunity?
tolerance.
You know, because everything is an opportunity. Because I believe that like life is a game. So if you see that life is a game and this person comes up and really triggers you and like, you know, then it's more of a, wow, I'm triggered, huh? How do I choose love? How do I choose peace right now? How do I, you know, look at like, what is triggering me? You know, and a lot of times it's going to be something related to our past or our family, or, you know, something that is a memory of something else. And it brings it back to awareness again, because the awareness has you be able to stop and go, look, like, hello, okay, what is this? And then choose. And then whatever choice you make, you execute that.
Yes.
So that's like,
the ultimate awareness tool.
yeah.
That every week in this course, I'm giving them live withs. You know, last week was no expectations. This week is no judgment. But like the umbrella tool of self-awareness, right, is stop.
Yeah.
Look at the expectation you're having, look at the judgment you're having, and choose. You want to hold on to that expectation, you want to hold on to the judgment, or you want to drop the rope.
Yeah, and
that's replace it with peace or acceptance, or this is a gift. I get to practice patience. My patience sensei is in the movie of my life right now, right?
Yeah, and it's the only way to begin to respond to life rather than react to life. So it's the only way to actually gain the control and the power and all that stuff that you actually think you're getting when you're reacting.
Yeah.
You have no control and no power when you're reacting, except for a false sense of it.
Yep. And I think it's important for, you know, my students to know and your students to know that, you know, just because we practice this, right, we still have those days. We still have moments where the reaction comes up. Like, I believe that until you are a completely 100% enlightened being, you know, maybe you're meditating on a mountain 8 hours a day and you don't have a lot of things coming in, but there are days that you and I, you know, we get man down. But I think the difference is if it happened 10 years ago, we'd be man down for the whole day or the week or the month. And now it's like 10 minutes, we get off it.
I remember I used to be in a relationship, and we would have these arguments about something stupid, but it would go on for literally 3 to 4 days. Literally.
Can you imagine?
And even though I thought, of course, I was the right one, and like, we should get off of this, I was still playing in that game for 4 days.
Yeah.
You know? And now, like, I mean, I can't even remember. Like, Erin and I don't even have those kinds of arguments. Like, we'll have discussions where we'll be like, okay, we need to check in.
Yeah.
But it's like, boom, done.
Yeah. Done. I want to, before we wrap up today, the other thing that you've really helped me contextualize and work with, especially in the gratitude trainings, is this concept of being right? And I think that even before I did your training, I was using the getting off of being right in my relationship. And I think that's why Seb and I have never had a disagreement or an argument in 4 years, which is really kind of scary, but it's happened. And it always comes down to, we do not need to be right. And so my tool, and then I want to hear your concept or your tools around righteousness, but we play a really fun game, which is great in relationships, is, you know, when we're like, you know, okay, I think it's this and you think it's that, right? So number one, the easiest way out of it is to Google it immediately. Okay. I am.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Or just like, well, let's wait and see. You know, tomorrow we're supposed to go to not really, but tomorrow we're supposed to go to the chili cook-off, and he's like, it's going to be hot and crowded, it's going to suck. And I'm like, well, maybe. And we go and we have a great time, right? So whenever it comes to pass that one or the other is right, that person gets to do the right dance. And it kind of looks like this. I was right. I was right. Right?
I love it.
We get to do the right dance, but we don't continuously try to prove our righteousness. And in relationships, that's what I find most people bicker about, is who's right.
Yeah.
Right? So that's my tool. How do you break down being right?
That's it. That's the tool.
Right? But like righteousness, like that's the relationship tool, but such a big part of the trainings.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because
setting off being right. And
when Erin and I met, we were actually both very righteous. And I had done work, and she'd done her work too, but like she started the trainings after we met. But so in the beginning, there was this thing, like one time we had like an argument whether a tank top was white or cream color. Like not even realizing that we have different retinas and different color, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and so we were going, I'm like, it's not. And I would grab other white shirts, compare it, or like, it's cream, it's this, like it was just insane, right? And then like just a few days later, there's something else. Oh, right. There's a train passing by with a container on it, like a furniture, like where they load stuff, on a train, like a freight train. And I'm like, oh, look at that 20-foot container. She's like, oh, that looks like a 40-foot container. And I'm like, no, that's a 20-foot, And I start going into like, I'm from a furniture family. I've had 3 containers shipped to me from Sweden. Like, I know that it's 20-foot container. That is not a 40-foot container. And she goes, Google it. And I Google it, and we measured it based on like how big it was, because it was like stalled on the train. And I was wrong. And in that moment, I swear to God, since that moment, I have never done that again with her.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I drop it so fast because it's not worth it.
That's the other tool. It's just not worth it. Like, look up the time, energy, because everything is energy that you are utilizing in being right, right? Yeah. All of that anger and frustration and righteousness, that takes a lot of energy. And so what that energy is being moved away from is creating the life of your dreams, creating world peace, creating your life's purpose. So it's like, where are you putting your energy, guys? It's a form of procrastination, judgment.
Yeah.
I'm just going to hold on to this judgment all day long so I don't have to write my best-selling New York Times book.
Right.
And
then there's even like another level to it, because on some level where even by it's not worth it, or like, let's see later, like there's still a little bit of us that need to know whether we're right or not.
Yes, there is.
One of the things I do with my brother, like we used to have the most righteous relationship too, and he's still righteous, but I have chosen to agree with him at everything he says, right? So he'll be like, I come home from to Sweden, he'd be like, you're so lazy, you're just sitting on the couch all day. I'm like, I know, it's crazy. I'm like the laziest, and I would go so overboard, but it was fun for me because I teach like improv and acting. Like for me, it was like, we're playing a game here, and I really was neutral about it. And in doing so, he would be like, well, you're not that bad. Like, seriously, like he would start taking my side.
Right.
So it's like, rather than the resistance, it's like dancing with what's showing up. And it's like, let people like have it. Who cares?
Yeah. Who cares? We got bigger and better things to do.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, I think this has given probably everybody even more clarity, more awesome, quick tools. But like really my biggest takeaway today is that stop, look, and choose. And if we can just be mindful of that, stop, look, and choose, have that self-awareness, is this perspective going to move me forward or keep me playing small and keep me as a victim? Is there even anything to forgive? Could they have done any better? you know, just that awareness, instead of going right to reaction, really having that curiosity to stop, look, and choose is the mother lode of all tools.
Yeah.
I love it. So put those Post-its up this week along with no judgment. Stop, look, choose. And then you can say, Joe Engelson. We'll just do that. You created that. I don't know if you did, but I'll let you.
I'll take it. I'll take it for now.
All right.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.